Welcome, welcome. Let me get the deck up. Actually, let me share this with you before I start sharing the deck so that you can follow along.
Uniontown.
Um, there's the view link for the deck.
Yeah, it's just north of Uniontown.
And, all right. So I have many updates from National today, and those will be good or bad. Spoiler alert, a lot of them are bad.
Oh,
So, but this is our agenda for today. So I've got quite a few updates from National, in terms of state. Just an update on the legislative agenda, reminder of the 3 actions for June for Pride Month. Um, I'll do a little check-in on CCamp as we're heading into the fall and thinking about year 2 of the program. Where are you at? Do you have any feedback? Um, Branch programs, Amy has been working on a spreadsheet for you all. So I'm going to share that and ask for a little bit of feedback there. And then we'll give you a fall preview, open it up for discussion. And we have a few people that are stepping out of their public policy role and a few people incoming. And I know a few of them are on the call today. So I want to give an opportunity for folks that are stepping out to say a few words, and especially give the floor to some folks who've done some really great work with public policy to kind of say goodbye, but still please come to our meetings because, it's open to everyone. So that's where we're going to end today. And but before we get to the end, we have to start at the beginning. So let me get you started. Um, so my first update from National is an update from International. So at the meeting this month on Wednesday, Gloria Blackwell stopped by to talk about AAUW's role and partnership with the United Nations. And
cool.
so uh, this is a bit of a rundown, and there's just a lot of links on here for, thinking about what we're doing with the United Nations through National. So some of the partnerships, AAUW is a co-founder, member of the Working Group on
Yeah.
Girls, a member of the U.S. Women's Caucus, which is nonprofits and organizations focused on girls across the world, a member of something called Congo, which is a coalition of all NGOs that are working with the UN. And then some of the things that AAUW has been involved in, such as
Wow.
responding to USAID cuts and impacts, the participation in the UN Commission on the Status of Women. And I linked you to an AAUW Fellows event that they did this spring so that you could watch it if you want, to see some of the things that the fellows are kind of doing and talking about. There's a really cool partnership that AAUW has created with Lehigh University since we're on our Pennsylvania connections today. So there's youth UN representation through AAUW through that partnership program. And because it's close to New York, they actually get to kind of really actively participate in all of these UN projects that AAUW is also involved with. Um, the national office also hosts a global leadership program, where, right, there's a slide in the upper right-hand corner here, where folks come in from all over the world. It's about, right, leadership and NGO leadership. And of course, participation in CEDAW, or the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And one thing that we've kept in our public policy priorities, which next year will be a year where we take a closer look at our public policy priorities, is some of the UN language within our own public policy priorities, to think about how we can incorporate CEDAW and state and local actions, and including in our public policy priorities. So that's a little rundown, but just also a reminder of the work that National is doing, right, to take AAUW into these international spaces and how important that work is to build coalitions, not just right within our own communities, within our own states, but also these international connections to bring all women and girls up together. So I don't know if I can answer any questions about this, but happy to if you have any right now.
I don't have any questions, Missy, but I can tell all of you that the incoming administration for AAUW California will have the tagline, inspiring action through community engagement. And this quite fits into what all you're saying, and public policy and advocacy will be central to those efforts. So thank you, you all.
Thanks, Sharon. And I see Peg said in the chat that your county endorsed CEDAW and it helped gain funding for an equal pay study on project managers in your county government, and that is awesome. Right. Fantastic. So that was the inspiring start. Allow me to tell
Right.
you a lot of other things. Haha. Okay. So other updates from national, there were a lot of updates on voting, and we'll see a lot of things kind of coming down the pipeline on voting, of course, because we're through the primaries and then on to the midterms. So voting and voting rights is going to remain an important focus for national too through the fall of 2026. Some things that I think we reported on before. No, we had a month off. So it's my vote campaign. We did share with you the guide that National has put out, but this is a webinar to kind of go through the guide and to think about voter engagement in your own communities. They've given us a hold date, but not a registration link. And so we'll share out that registration link for that webinar as soon as it gets to us. But if you are interested in attending this live, it'll be July 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern with the registration link forthcoming. It will be recorded and then be in the repository of webinars for national, and we will very much be incorporating that into our fall PP news and our Get Out the Vote planning. But if you are around on July 8th and not at one of your fabulous destinations that you are traveling to, then this will be available for you. Another thing that AAUW is signing on with is Good Trouble Lives On Day of Action, which is another, Get Out the Vote, voting rights focused action event. I've linked to this kind of organization, this coalition on the slide. But AAUW is going to put together a toolkit for how you can participate in this day of action or this weekend of action. So the toolkit will explain messaging around how AAUW is aligned with Good Trouble as the organization, how to host an event, how to find an event near you, actions you can take during the event weekend. So that is in the works, and just pinning that. There's a lot of things that July is a month where a lot of us are traveling, but there's a lot of things that are happening in July. So National will send things along, and we'll send things along to you as they come up, but keep that in kind of your calendar. Other things that National is going to be releasing around voting in July will be the head-to-head voter guide templates. Now, we created some for the primaries because we knew these wouldn't be released until July. So we already have a kind of model to work with that we've worked with in the primaries, but National is going to release their templates in July. We'll start working with them in August and to create voter guides for the midterms in August, September. But heads up for that. And then just some updates on voting rights from National in terms of the federal government. Good news, no movement on the SAVE Act and the Save America Act and the Save Act. I don't know, they've got like 10 variations now, but there's been no movement on any of that over the last month. So we can at least put that as a small positive. In terms of voting rights, I know a lot of people here are court watchers, and so you've probably are aware of the decision in Louisiana versus Calais, which was a major decision on the Voting Rights Act, that has redefined, we could say, the idea of racial gerrymandering. Um, so it basically eliminated any additional protections that were still there. The Voting Rights Act had already been um, weakened significantly by the Roberts Court, but this was a huge, right? The last man standing was taken down by this decision. And so you see a lot of action happening in Louisiana, Alabama, around this kind of scrum to redistrict, because the idea of racial gerrymandering has been shifted. So I linked you to the Alabama ruling here. If you really want to read the Calais decision, it's here. There's a lot of really good resources on it, but that will have an impact in 2026, especially for historically now Black districts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
is going to be something that we will need to focus on nationally because these districts are being changed so late in the game for the midterm elections. So this will have to be throughout the country part of get out the vote efforts to make sure that everybody knows where they go to vote, when they vote, who they're voting for, because historically these kinds of changes haven't been accepted so late into a process when we're so close to the midterms, but I guess we just don't care about that anymore. This is where we're at on voting rights. Cassie, these slides will be posted, and I'll repost the link to them right now. Let me check the chat and see what else. And Calais, I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. But with the court, right? I don't know what the court has issued with Calais. I think the Alabama decision came down 2 days ago, which was Alabama basically redistricting to eliminate its majority Black districts, and the court, um, you know, has allowed them to do it because of the decision in Calais. But yeah, I linked you to that in here too. So there's a lot of movement right now. There's going to be a lot more movement before 2028, but we'll have at least some to deal with nationwide in 2026. Karen, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, yay. I was just wondering, obviously, there are AAUW chapters everywhere, and some states are hit more hardly, like in the South, are hit more hard than some of the other states. And I'm wondering if there's any way that we can help those states.
And that's a great question. And I think that's also what National's pointing to. And so I think one thing that we are going to be invested in is supporting the Get Out the Vote efforts, not just in California, but supporting Get Out the Vote efforts in other states, exactly to your point, Karen, where those things are kind of most impactful. We've already had, even in the last couple years, right, some postcarding campaigns, some other campaigns. As long as they're nonpartisan, AAUW California can get involved in them. And so more coming on that front. Peg, go ahead.
Yeah, AAUW San Jose for several years has participated with the Center for Common Ground to support and encourage voter turnout in a lot of southern states. That campaign is called Reclaim Our Vote. And what they do is provide you, they notify you of when elections are happening, and primaries are going through August across the nation. So there are plenty of things. They encourage turnout, and all they say is, please vote for these values.
Yeah.
And they target usually voters of color in states that need that support. They're going to be writing to the entire state of Georgia later this summer.
Wow.
But anyway, look up Center for Common Ground, and their campaign is Reclaim Our Vote. They have a special postcard that you order, and it's all printed. They give you a script, they give you the addresses and all the directions you need. In AAUW San Jose, we received a generous bequest that has allowed us to also give our writers their stamps. And we have probably every year for the past 2, 3, maybe even more years, written like 3,500 postcards. And I just released the latest campaign, which is going to North Carolina, and I already have like 1,000 postcards signed up for it, with people are committing to write. So
Thank you.
anyway, it's been great for us.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
Thanks, Peg. And we're also partnering at the national level with League of Women Voters. So they have a Get Out the Vote campaign this year too that we're going to give you more information about and roll out in the fall. Sharon, go ahead.
So there are going to be several of those southern states attending this event that Sigrid and I are attending. So we will be presenting some information about what we in California are doing to help them.
And I just dropped that information, Peg, that you referenced into the chat, and you can make sure that's, I believe that's the campaign you were referencing. Karen, go ahead.
I have just one more quick question. When the issues were going on in Minnesota, our Berkeley chapter contacted AAUW in Minnesota. I don't remember which branch it was, the big one, to ask them how they were doing. Did they need help? What are they doing, etc. And they were surprised that there was that kind of communication from another chapter, a regular chapter. And I'm just wondering if we could do a webinar or something like that, where we get those most important states, representatives from most important states, speaking a little bit about what they need. Because we can talk about what we can do, and it's great that like San Jose is doing what they've done. But I like to hear also what they need. I'm just wondering if there's any way that there can be that kind of personal communication beside going to the conference.
Yeah, and I think so every month we have a meeting of at least all the public policy folks from all 50 states in a monthly meeting, and that's how we get these updates. And I was hoping you'd raise your hand, Kathy, because Kathy is also our national one of our national reps.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Missy. Yeah, I just want everybody to know that I have just been elected as co-chair of the National Public Policy Committee. So you have a direct pipeline and take advantage of it. Please let me know. You can email me directly with any input or questions you have about what's going on with National. And one of the main things that we're going to be working on this next year is ways that we, at the national level, can be of more assistance to our state branches across the country, and ways that we can connect branches with each other. So we really welcome your ideas, your questions, your comments that I can take back to the committee and use to help us formulate those plans for the upcoming year. Thanks.
Kathy, I would urge you to be a presenter at the in-person conference in April 2026. With regard to all of the public policy stuff, along with Missy and Amy.
I would be happy to do that. Just let me know.
Yep.
Thanks, Kathy. And Karen, if you want to reach out to Kathy directly, or both of us or me, I'll make sure anything ideas that you have, feel free. We'll filter them to Kathy, or just CC us in them so that we can spread the word throughout California as we kind of connect with national.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Ready for the onslaught of national updates that are intense? Okay. Everybody take a deep breath, and if you have, I only have water, no more coffee, but I'm going to take a big drink. Okay. So, things that are happening federally and then kind of what we're thinking about or doing. I put on here on this slide and the next one, keep your eyes on your inbox in July, because a lot of things are happening in July, the exact month that we usually are all vacationing or doing other things. So keep that in mind as I go through these. Okay, so appropriations. We have, right, we're at early stages of the new kind of budget cycle. So here is your hope, right? When you're looking at the new kind of proposed budget and budget proposals, don't panic yet. There's a long process of reconciliation that will still move forward. This year's budget wasn't truly approved until January of this year, even though it was proposed last May, because there's a lot of wrangling that happens with things that are funded and defunded. So the initial budget will be negotiated, and that process will be ongoing over the next several months. So stay tuned for updates about that process, how it's going, and where AAUW National does dip in and out of that process. We don't want to go there yet. So next thing, federal action alerts. So you might receive action alerts about national bills, and they were careful to say, like, you might be like, why am I getting an alert for this bill that there's no way it's going to pass in this cycle? So because we are anticipating the potential for House turnover, some of the priority areas that National is seeking to advance may be proposed, and you might see action alerts around them, with the attempt to get priority legislation into the top 10 bills introduced in January. So you might see action alerts around pay equity, paid leave, public funding for public schools, and that is a strategic kind of attempt to set us up for next year. So look for those action alerts as they come, and know that that is a strategic move, and that is what National is doing with those action alerts. They might not seem responsive to some things that are happening in the kind of real time immediately, but they are being used for a purpose. Any questions about that? Peg, thank you. Yeah. All right. So yes, right. Especially if we get House turnover, I think Megan Cassell pointed out that the 6-week period from November until that January period is going to be kind of wild. So that'll be really interesting. Now Supreme Court stuff, we already kind of touched on Calais, but other things that are coming from National, National signed an amicus brief in the case BPJ versus West Virginia, which has been combined with the case Hecox versus Little. That is a Title IX case about trans women in sports, and that decision should come down in the next few weeks. So in the meeting on Wednesday, I asked a question about follow-up about them providing language for Title IX, because it's a Title IX case, but depending on how the case is decided, and based on other ways that Title IX enforcement has been used, we see Title IX being used against trans folks, while we see sexual harassment and pregnancy discrimination being weakened within the enforcement mechanisms that have gone back to the guidance has gone back to the last Trump administration's guidance on sexual harassment cases. And some of the pregnancy discrimination provisions that were strengthened under Biden have been walked back. So I just asked National to provide some language as we're thinking about how we talk about Title IX and Title IX enforcement. We're thinking about how we navigate Title IX, right, and talk about Title IX within our own priorities in a way that
Yeah.
matches up with our other priorities. So that's forthcoming. But I think we'll see what the outcome of the case in BPJ is, but I am not holding my breath for that to be positive. Just putting on your radar, right? We didn't really talk about this at the national meeting, but if you didn't read the last page of PP News on the decision in Childs versus Salazar, that was a decision about conversion therapy. And we advanced or elevated one of our watch bills into our slate that specifically responds to conversion therapy. And that was in part, you'll see when the legislative update comes, because of the way that bills have been shuffled around, but also because it is more necessary. So those are Supreme Court issues around gender specifically that are in play and that are either have been decided in the last 8 weeks or will be decided in the next 3 weeks. The other case that is that National is watching is this Select Services case. So a case to attempt to eliminate the single sex requirement on the draft as a way to advance ERA. And so this has been set aside at the district level, but I linked you to the case so that you can track that case as it moves. Kathy.
Not to embarrass you, dear, but I just want to point out it should be selective service because that has a very specific meaning. That selective service means the draft. So it
Yeah.
should be selective service and not selected services.
That's fine. Thank you for catching the typo.
All right.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Okay. So, regulatory changes. This has been the ongoing kind of thing, right, with this administration is if things aren't moving through the courts, or if they're not winning through the courts, or if we can't pass laws, then there's a lot of changes that are happening through rulemaking and rule processes. So the patriotic education rule that we fought against was actually just finalized. And so you're linked here to that language and how it ended up coming out. There has been a new rule proposed for the review of scientific grants by some kind of independent committee. I did not read that 400-page proposal. I am sorry, I couldn't do it. It came out last Friday, but I did link you to a Guardian article. And this is, I know that the other committees that I'm on with academic and the American Anthropological Association are in coalition to like fighting back against this kind of review, because it will basically mean that federal grants will only go to researchers and research that aligns with Trump administration priorities. rather than it being a review process based on the scientific or other merit of the grant proposal. Kathy?
Yeah, I think the main gist of that was that they're going to remove scientific review of research grants. I mean, it's basically what you're saying as to who the reviewers will be, but the really important thing is that they're eliminating. The proposal is to remove scientific review of those grants.
Oh
of
my
scientific
God.
grants.
Yeah, correct. It's the review will be done by like a politically appointed committee to align with Trump administration priorities rather than it being review, by the internal committees based on, right, the scientific merit of the actual proposal. And now this is in addition to the kind of zero budget that they've already proposed for the social sciences for the National Science Foundation. So there's an active kind of attack on data, right? As we have in kind of another bullet point here, and right, scientific merit. Cassie, if you have to jump off, do you want to say something before we move on? Because feel free.
Oh, thank you, Missy. I just want to say how much I appreciate all the work that you and Amy have
Yeah.
done and are doing, and how much I value the work of all the branches, public policy chairs. It's been really inspiring to hear what other branches are doing. And I'm stepping down. I was hoping that my successor, Susan Burnett, would be on. I don't think she's on the call, but yeah, again, thank you all for what you do, and your work is so inspiring.
Thank you, Cassie, and thank you for giving us a model for lobby days this year and for all the work that you've been doing at your branch. We appreciate you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and I'll look forward to hearing how everybody did with our new model for lobby days. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks, Cassie.
Okay, bye-bye.
Having chicken salad, sandwich.
Right.
You're making tea for me, right? You're making tea for me, right?
Missy, maybe you want to mute everybody.
Oh, make tea for me.
I'll just ask everybody to mute. I hate to mute everyone.
Yeah.
But let me see if I can find the mute. All right.
Get some chips.
Mm. All right. Okay. So back to the less fun topic, right? Okay. So that's scientific merit. Accreditation is also something to keep in mind. All right, and I'm not just telling you all this to make you sad. So accreditation on that front, we've seen already kind of a push towards attacking accreditation. So there's a rulemaking process that's in the last stage. We'll get a toolkit in July to weigh in on this. So you see all the action happening in July when we're not paying attention. So there will be a comment period that will open in July. That we should do our best to both weigh in on and spread the word for others to weigh in on it, to at least slow down the process, if not stop it. The goal of the administration is to change the standards on accreditation. And then when a school is not accredited, the students cannot get financial aid. And so this is going to go after not just professional schools, but also private schools that might be doing are having a little bit more leeway right now to make decisions internally than the public schools have. And so the accreditation push is, will, be a way to get at those schools a little more directly. So it's something to keep in mind. Sorry to interrupt your July and again your vacations, but we'll have some action to take. And yes, schools that are not accredited wouldn't get federal financial aid, right? Not all financial aid, but even private schools run on quite a bit of federal financial aid usually. So that is part of the concern. But yes, Peg, you're correct. They would not get federal financial aid. Kathy, go ahead.
I just had a comment before you go on to EEOC, but I'll wait till you're done.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, there was one more issue that was brought up from the administrative standpoint that I thought it was important to talk about, or just to mention to everyone to be aware of. You all know about what's been going on with the loan caps and funding, providing funding for certain professions and not for others, and the really high adverse impact that it's had on women. And another issue that we talked about on Monday relating to this, or Wednesday, relating to this, was the fact that we're seeing a shift in the whole approach, the way we think about education. We're moving away from a view of education as having its own intrinsic value. People, our citizens getting higher education, having an intrinsic value to the contributions that makes to our society as a whole. And we're moving away from that to a model of education is only important for how much money you can make off of it. So the shift is really from away from any providing funds for anyone to go into professions that are, quote, low earning. And that's the real dangerous impact that we're seeing from this. And we're already seeing a lot of institutions who are closing certain programs, those who are shutting down programs that are so-called low earning. So this is something for us to really be aware of, and something that AUW is keeping its eye on.
Thanks, Kathy. And I think that's, I'm glad you brought that up. It's also the way that they're crunching the data for low earning professions. I don't think this was brought up on Wednesday, but is they are only looking at the first 4 to 5 years of earning potential out of the acquiring the degree instead of across the lifetime, which is highly problematic. And this is just because I'm really involved in in anthropology accreditation and anthropology departments. And so that has been a way that there has been an attempt to close anthropology, sociology, gender studies, ethnic studies, because it doesn't account for the ways that those degrees upskill folks to go into graduate school or different professions or in a crew, even their earning potential across the lifetime. So not only is it just about earning potential, but even the way that they're calculating earning potential is problematic. And so both of those things are just maddening. And let me see, Shari, where is the line between what California can do and where federal law will reign supreme? I think this might be EEOC and but I will tell you what states are doing on that. I'm not sure about the data collection on this topic. And Karen, immigration issues. Not on this national call. Not directly. This was largely focused on national's priority areas have largely been ed and higher ed, but there wasn't anything brought up in this call on international students and immigration issues on that front, but they have addressed some of the visa issues in the past, but nothing that I can think of on this call. Did you have a more specific question, both Shari and Karen, before I move on?
I was just really wondering, as all of these things are coming into play, how does California ensure that we can still do data collection, like that we as a state, so that we can ensure that there's, like, how do we maintain kind of our, if you will, our value system, our ethics, our sense of, racial, social justice from a legal perspective and from a law perspective within California when the federal government is making these shifts? And is there a way to do that? So
yeah, I'll see if I can, I'll give you a couple, like we've been trying to support legislation that backfills some things that the federal government is not doing already. There was AEW this wasn't on our legislative agenda, but there's a proposal to like create basically California's own NSF, right? Like to kind of backfill that. On the EEO data, this hasn't been eliminated yet, but that's an area to think about, data collection from that historically had been federal on employment data. But right, California already has some mechanisms to collect data internally. So I think it will depend on the federal things that are eliminated and the things that we do need to backfill that California doesn't already do. I'll give Peg and then Kathy a chance to say something, and then Karen, if you want to ask a question about immigration.
Okay.
Okay, Kathy, you go first because you may be saying similar things to what I might be.
So the state laws on data collection apply to state businesses and state data. So that this, even if this changes, that won't affect what we do here in California as it relates to collection of our data. This is federal data. Where it will impact, have a big impact specifically on AEW, is if that data collection is eliminated, not only does it affect the ability of states to pass legislation that addresses disparate impacts, but it will also affect things like the publications and research that we do on gender equity, because that data will no longer be available to us, which we rely on for those reports. So that's the impact it'll have, but it won't affect our ability to collect data in the state.
That was part of what I was going to talk about. But the other thing too is we need to remember that the California Labor Commission often is someplace that people can go to for pay equity issues and so forth. And California does have quite a few laws that, cover similar situations to the federal laws and are often like family leave and things like that. Some of those are addressed at the state level. It might be interesting to have someone come and talk to us about those things. I do have a contact who might be able to put together something like that. We've done that locally here in talking to people who are worried about pay equity, and she's quite good. But I'll save that for whenever that comes up, for whenever that's important for you all.
Thanks,
Okay,
Peg.
thank you.
Karen, go ahead and ask a question, and I'll come back to EEO data.
Well, I'm not sure if it's a federal or a national or a state, but of course we will know that students are being impacted by detention, immigration, and families separated, and schools being disrupted. And I'm just wondering if national is doing something about this, supporting something in this area, since it's obviously affects our students and families, and we want to help.
So our public policy priorities, we made sure that in the last revision of them that we've included specific reference to protecting, right, the rights of all people, including, right, folks based on citizenship status. And we've been making sure to advance what we can at the state level to create greater protections for things that were eliminated federally, where we can and as we can, for the rights of students, for ICE agents not coming in and raiding schools, right? For attempting to create the spaces where federal enforcement used to not be able to come and try to recreate those boundaries. So to backfill some protections. National, I think Kathy might be able to speak to that more. Is that what you are going to focus on, Kathy? But we have been trying to work at the state level to create more protections.
Okay.
Yeah, National did eliminate immigration from their public policy priorities that they're going to be working on for last year and through the rest of this year. We will, of course, consider the main focus at the national level right now is higher education, secondary education. And so as immigration issues touch on that, they will be addressed, but not immigration in and of itself. And there won't be any specific policy work around just immigration. So yeah, so we backfilled that at the state level and have our own protections and our public policy priorities here.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And circling back to EEO1 data before I move on, and although before we move on, Susan, do you want to ask that question directly and see if anybody else is working on that?
Well, I was just wondering, because in Gilroy they're planning to build an immigration prison, and I feel like, wow, if in red states they've kept these things out, we should not have one in the Bay Area. So I don't know if others are. I've contacted someone on the Board of Supervisors, finally got a contact for that, but because they're against it as well. But wondering if anyone else is working against immigration prisons locally.
Karen, I see your hand.
Yeah, Dublin.
Oh, yes,
Right.
you are. Are you working against the one in Dublin?
Yes. And we
That's
sent
great.
out, somebody sent something to us via AAUW saying you can send out a note by June 1st because they're having some kind of a discussion about it. And so we did that as an action thing. But I would definitely stay paying attention to see whatever we can do because the community does not support changing the closed prison now to a detention center. So we're working on that.
That's great. Could I contact you somehow about what you're doing? Or I'll
Sure.
put my email in the box and you can contact me. I'll be away for the next month, unfortunately, having surgery. But after that, I'd love to work
Yes,
with you.
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen Weinstein.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put my email in. Thank you.
Claire, go ahead.
Susan and Karen, I was just wondering, could you let all the, at least the Santa Clara County, the IBCs know about it? Because I think it's important that all of the branches in Santa Clara County, and maybe in Monterey and Santa Cruz too, have this information, any information that we gather up together.
Okay, I can
Okay.
send you what was sent to me, which was to send a note to these people about it. I could send you that information.
Oh,
So all the chapters in Santa Clara.
right.
Okay.
Might be a good project for C Camp next year.
Who has the addresses of all the branches in Santa Clara County?
Look at Claire raising
Claire.
her
Okay.
hand.
All right. So we'll send it to you to distribute if we have anything. Thank you.
And Susan, I know you have my address, at least you have my address.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. And if you are pushing back against this, hopefully the C Camp toolkit can be useful also for thinking about building relationships with your city councils and showing up there. All right, last thing, but EEOC data. So the EEO1 data, if you're not familiar, is basically data that's collected from businesses that have over 500 employees that is about demography of the workforce, that is, as we alluded to, right, roles, titles, pay data. This is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. EEO, the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission is thinking about, right? They're going to propose an elimination of this data. And so Illinois, I linked you here, just passed the disparate impact bill to try to backfill. We do have state level kind of data, but this is going to impact how we do a lot of things around diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as pay equity, because we can't track, you know, the tragic reality that only 2% of Fortune 500 CEOs are people of color, and only 0.5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are LGBTQ+. We get that data from EEO1 reporting, and we're able to track it from EEO1 reporting. And so that's going to kind of shut down nationwide reporting on these kinds of things. There's a comment period that will open up in, guess when? My favorite month and yours for vacations and regulatory changes, July. You know, we look for that from national, but this will be another comment, kind of regulatory change that we're going to ask for you to dip in to comment on, because we clearly don't want to see this data collection being eliminated. They did threaten to eliminate it last year, but didn't. They just released the reporting very late. You know, the comment period is going to open. They're going to propose it. Hopefully, we can at least turn out to push back and slow down this as a process, if not stop it. So those are all the happy updates from national. Any other questions or comments? All right. We'll give you California legislative updates, move on to the kind of state level stuff. We had 14 bills on our legislative agenda, including watch bills that got that will live no more after appropriations. So they got hung up in appropriations and they perished in appropriations. This is not entirely surprising given the budget in California, that we have to work a little harder to get anything that has a budget impact out of appropriations given the budget crunch. So we were able to kind of add bills back to our legislative agenda, both from the watch list and bills that had been identified after we set our legislative agenda. So that is the good news, that we were able to add some good bills to the legislative agenda after we lost some. I was really sad about some that we lost, but the two examples, and you can check out the bill tracker, two that we were able to add. AB 2540. This requires community colleges with health centers to provide access to medication abortion, which will, you know, hopefully not be needed, but given the wrangling over medication abortions being mailed that we see kind of going on federally as a fight, this will be a really good bill. SB 934, which allows individuals harmed by conversion therapy to have sufficient time to pursue legal action. I think the importance of this bill too is the way that conversion therapy is defined gets around what has been seen as problematic in the recent Supreme Court decision that banned conversion therapy, that allowed for conversion therapy as talk therapy in Colorado. These are two good bills, and that's an example of what we were able to add. And all three of our A priority bills also passed out of the Assembly and have moved into the Senate. And we are doing our best to shore up lots of relationships to get those through the Senate as well. Sina.
Yeah, just to bring up, I just have a question on when we had the lobby day and the two Krell bills were really received well. And in fact, we were invited to have the be on the campus. Can you tell me or tell everyone what's happening with that as far as the day and time and what's involved and that kind of stuff?
I don't have any additional details with them yet, but Senator Blakespeare's office invited AAUW to come table at an event on July 16th. The tentative time is 6 p.m. on the UCSD campus. And they're supposed to circle back with me this month to fill in the gaps. But as soon as I have those details, I will share them out. The tabling, the event will be the senator, a local DA, a survivor and service providers to raise awareness about human trafficking in San Diego County, and to especially on a college campus, where it's often seen as invisible, and to provide AAUW has been asked to come and kind of provide handouts and resources and advance these two pieces of legislation or provide more information about them at the event.
Yeah, and this happened because of Lobby Day. So that's really important. We went to the local office, and I did know the one who's in charge of the local office from past, and it was like the discussion was amazing. And when they found out about, obviously, the Krell bills, they immediately said, hey, why don't you get involved? And so that going to the local district office, right, and making that contact now, gave us obviously an avenue of getting out there more. So I just saw that visit the local offices on Lobby Day, just an aside kind of thing, was really important.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Sina. And it's this will be a really nice, I think, event too. And when I have more details, the more folks from local branches in San Diego and San Diego County that we can kind of get to the event to come hang out and represent, then that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and I noticed the IBC that I'll be sending additional information on that. So they're aware of wanting all the other branches in San Diego to get involved. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Sina.
Thank you.
Ginny? Ginny, you're muted.
Oh, there we go. Okay, point of clarification. Are the UCs and the Cal States, they already have or are providing access to medication abortion?
That
Okay. Okay. So the community colleges were just the last ones to come on board.
That is,
or will be if this is, yeah.
That's my understanding, but let me double check because I'm usually very aware of what's happening in the Cal States, but let me double check and make certain that that's the case.
Okay.
Yep. Other questions? All right, so if you haven't checked the bill tracker, check the bill tracker, mourn the loss of some of your favorite bills, and get excited about some of the new ones we were able to put on. One of my favorites, one of my favorites went, and I was very sad about it. Okay, so we have to layer the sad parts with the what you can do parts. So we lost some bills, gained some good ones. Just a reminder that we have some action kind of items, and here's what we have listed for you for June for Pride Month. So reading more about the conversion therapy case, we have some ResistBot petitions supporting SB 934 that we just talked about that kind of protects against harm caused by conversion therapy and extends the time frame by which people can file suit if they are kind of victims of conversion therapy in professional settings. We also have a resist bot petition out for one of our A bills, 1876, targeting the Senate now that it's in the Senate, to move it along. It's been moving pretty well, but it is a good Pride Month activity in particular to move that one forward. And we have also some federal level asks on 2 bills that focus on targeting LGBTQ students in public elementary and secondary schools, and we have a script for you there. So if you haven't seen this in public policy news, check it out. It's also on this slide that celebrate Pride, go to your parade, wear your rainbows, and call your legislators. Any questions or comments about this or anything else to add for thinking about what you can do in June for Pride? All right. I will see if I can grab this link. I don't think I opened it before I started sharing my screen. But Amy has put together an early draft for thinking about ideas to engage members in public policy. She put a we on here because she's very nice, but it was Amy that has been really putting this list together about creating a repository of branch public policy programs and activities, cross-branch learning exchange. I've shared this deck, but let me stop sharing so I can share the link out so that you all can take a look at it, of this kind of spreadsheet that she has put together. And I will drop that in the chat. So she's put together this spreadsheet and I will share my screen so you can see it. And Amy's really, before we continue kind of putting this together, just wanted to share it out with you all and see if you had any questions, comments, right, feedback, because, you know, is this the format that you will find useful? Is there something else that you are looking for in putting this together as we're moving forward?
This goes right along with what we're hoping to accomplish in the next 2 years after July 1. So excellent. Thank you.
I will let Amy know because we can pretend that I put together this spreadsheet, but we all know it was Amy.
And we'll title it Public Policy and Advocacy, please.
Mm-hmm. All right. If I can, if y'all are good with this, you like this, you'll find this useful, then we'll keep chugging along and putting things together. I think we're also trying to think about how to gain, like, you know, continue to kind of collect this in a way that makes sense. I think was Sina first or Kathy first? I'm sorry, I didn't see whose hand went up first. Do you want to like duke it out for who goes first?
Yeah, I just want to say, Kathy will have the details, but I just want to say that I think it's great. And I think it really, excuse me, because, you know, to get the branches involved, it is public policy. I mean, that is what we're talking about. Any of the outward, visual presence of AUW. Okay, where is AUW? It's going to be in our public policy, and this is great. This is really, for each branch to go over particular things and how we can get involved, and it is not partisan, because that's obviously it's the issues that we're talking about. I just want to compliment. I think it's great.
Fantastic. I will pass it along to Amy. She and I had been talking about it, but she actually moved on it, started putting this
Yes.
together. Kathy, go ahead.
So I just had a question on the mechanics of this. If you could, I don't know if you're going to go over it at a later point to talk about how to utilize it. I'm a little confused because the top three items are like kind of more general for, or for, excuse me, top four, I guess, for all branches. And then it goes back to 2024 and has individual things that branches are doing. Is the idea that each branch, as they engage in an activity, will go in and add theirs to this? Or is this data that you guys are collecting from some other source and putting out for all of us to access?
I think we'll probably have it through forms. So we'll have like the stuff that any branch can do. And if like some branch riffs on it and has something very specific or like, then we'll include it. What we had been doing in the past is having people submit things and then we'd write something about it. And it's kind of like taking that idea and instead turning it into like a repository of like, you know, actionable kind of hopefully right things or ideas. So some of them will be the things that we present at the state level that any branch can do, but like other branches will have specific things that they've done. And I think the idea is to collect it through the same mechanism that we've been collecting information for the articles. But we haven't settled on that yet. So if you have a specific idea, let us know.
Okay, yeah, I talked with Amy a little bit about it when she was getting ready to start preparing this and gave her some ideas from when I used to, I did a spreadsheet that I used to read every single newsletter from every single branch. And then I would pull out the public policy work that they had done each month and put them in here. Way too much work, not recommending it, but that's what made me wonder was where I didn't imagine that you guys would do that. So I was just wondering where the info came from, because to me, that's the critical aspect of information sharing. We all say, yay, raw, this is a great idea, we want to do it. But if we're not inputting our information, then it's not going to be very helpful. So
yeah, I mean, we could also have Claude read all the articles and pull things out. So yay, Claude, right? But I think for now, we're still gonna be like pulling, like you submit, we share, rather than the yeoman and saints work that Kathy Harper has done to read every single newsletter. That's pretty I might let Claude do it though. Elaine?
I just want to say thank you for doing this spreadsheet. I think it's a great idea to share what each of our groups are doing, because I think there's a lot going on out there that we can do. The big challenge is going to keep it updated, and but as long as you're willing to do that and have Claude help you, we'll see how it goes. I think, but I just want to congratulate you. It's a little hard to read for me at this point, so I look forward to seeing it getting published.
Awesome. And thanks, Elaine. I will, this is, us kind of getting it started, and it is a lot of work, so we didn't want to do it until we got some feedback from you all. So we'll continue on, and hopefully it is not just me and Amy doing it. We have a fantastic committee, some of whom are on this call. So if you really want to take this up, we would be happy to have you do that too. Susan?
Yeah, sorry. It looked like maybe two of our activities were on one line in San Jose. Both are Get Out the Vote with Reclaim Our Vote, and then our visits to school board meetings, which could be combined with the Greater School Board Project, because that's what prompted us to take that route in our own area. I may be wrong, but somehow I thought it looked like there was like the school board and Get Out the Vote were in the same line. So is that wrong?
Yes, I think I see it on that line.
Yeah. Amy knows what's what. She just, was doing too much.
Yeah. Thanks, Susan. All right. Okay, I will let Amy know that she's awesome. And let me go back to We got about 15 minutes left of hanging out with me. So let's go back to these. All right. So now upcoming things, a quick check-in on CCAMP, and then we'll open it up for open discussion. So upcoming things, school board monitors and observers training for the Public School Defenders Hub. We have this upcoming on June 11th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific. The registration link is on the slides. This one will be about state education code requirements, school boards, for inclusive education for all students, how you can kind of push back against extremist local actions, how to prepare to actively engage at school board meetings, Brown Act governance laws with local boards, with which local boards must adhere, and how to escalate complaint filings about noncompliance. So this is super useful if you are going to engage more with school boards in the school board project. And that is June 11th. That's a Thursday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. The registration is here. We are going to try to take a summer hiatus, even though July is not looking good for us to take a summer hiatus because of all the federal rule changes. But Public Policy News will be on a hiatus for the summer. So your next issue will come the 1st of September. For your September preview, we'll still be sending emails about any state level action, and we'll try to keep you abreast of things that are happening with the federal rule changes. As far as our own bills, a lot of the action is going to take place in June before the July kind of recess for our own state Senate and Assembly. So there'll still be some kind of movement, making sure our A bills are moving forward. There is a hearing for in ed in the Senate for 1766 on Wednesday next week, whatever day is the 12th. So it might be Thursday, Friday. What is time, right? But it is next week. And so far we've had really good success, but you might hear from us to help us move our bills in June. Follow us on ResistBot if you haven't done so. We try to post things there. We also try to send out emails if we need you to contact specific committees or committee members for support for state level legislation. Also coming this fall, just to keep on your radar, since PP News won't come out until September 1st, we'll have Get Out the Vote resources for the midterm elections. And we're planning to do a webinar about the Heritage Foundation's 2026 report. Yes, the 2026 report, Saving America by Saving the Family, a foundation for the next 250 years. I wrote a 4-part series about that. Please drink first before you read it. We are doing a webinar on it this fall as part of our Get Out the Vote efforts. Because I'm already seeing movement on some things at the state and federal level. So just to kind of connect how the choices that we make with voting are going to impact how these things get advanced. To follow AAUW California on ResistBot, there's a website. You can just hit the follow button. I'll stop sharing slides and follow ResistBot. You can access the 4-part series. We've linked them in Public Policy News, but I published it on my Substack, so it could go out more broadly. And I'll put both of those links in the chat in a second. let me see what's on the next slide, and then I'll put them both in the chat. Thanks for asking, Peg. And this is just a quick check-in as we're thinking about city council action for the next year. If you have any feedback, we only have a few minutes left, but I'm happy to hear it. What's going well, anything you would like to see done differently, this conversation today, right? Like, I don't know how many counties are going to have, you know, detention facilities that they need to push back against, but that might be, right, another kind of area for thinking about, you know, good reasons and good ways to make, to create relationships with city councils and county boards, and areas that you can kind of then use those relationships to kind of leverage that, that action in the future. But any feedback, let us know so that we can think about, you know, tweaking and topic areas for the next cycle. Sina?
Yeah, the election obviously last Tuesday, kind of low in visual, you know, for the people, is the superintendent of public instruction. And that particular race has me really worried. And it's, you know, for our concern on the school board project, you have one who is pretty much religious right, who has a lot more votes, but, you know, Richard Barrera, the other candidate, obviously is the candidate that has good policies. But Sonja Shaw, from what I see, is attacking the trans group, and as far as public education issues, and really out there. And my concern number one is that people don't vote for that position, you know, down ballot. Okay, so if you're well organized, you're going to have that advantage. So can we really focus on that position, you know, as far as, you know, getting information out there that this is a critical election, superintendent of public, you know, instruction, and for the November election, because it's a big concern of mine. She could definitely win because of the lack of voting down the ballot.
I think yes, and I think we can do head-to-head. You know, we can always do head-to-head kind of comparisons as long as they're nonpartisan. Kathy, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I just want to mention that we need to, the committee needs to talk about this, Sina, because it is a really important issue.
Thank you.
She's extremely dangerous, and so the committee is going to meet, and we're going to come up with a strategy that can be helpful to all of our branch members on that position. And while I have the mic, if I could, Missy, I just want to throw out another thing, a related thing to everybody. School board races are there's going to be a lot of them coming up in November, and those are so important. And we're really, the committee is really focusing this year on getting good candidates put up for and supporting them in their elections. So please pay attention to those races. Please check out with your local registrars and find out who has taken out papers to run for school board offices. Check them out. Learn about their policies and their values, and where you find candidates who you find that are aligned with our values, please find ways to support them. And don't forget that because these are nonpartisan races, we are entitled, your branch is entitled to endorse them. If you find a good candidate or candidates, you are allowed by our rules to endorse them, and you can make those endorsements public. You can publish them in your branch newsletter or however else you want to do it. But it's really important that we get good candidates on our school boards this year. Thanks.
Yeah, and to Sina's point, like, as if things are coming up in your districts, make sure that like you make the state public policy committee aware, so that we can both help you with resources and include them in. We're going to use the websites that we used for the primaries as kind of a model. We're going to tweak them, but we're going to use those as models for like how we're putting out, especially the kind of district level guides and other guides. so that they are not going to come out only as PDFs that you can circulate, but also be put on a website for other folks to be able to see it outside of AAUW. So that was our test run at trying a different way of kind of putting out our voter guides for the fall. So be sure that you're in touch with us with any issues that come up. And Sina, I look forward to working with you on creating those guides for those head-to-head guides for those
Thank you.
races.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you. I can't be on the committee, right? Because I'm doing obviously membership, but I can be on the subcommittee as far as the school board. And I plan on definitely staying on the subcommittee, school board project. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Don't worry. And
Love
listen,
you. I love you all. You're so great. Thank you.
Anything else where at the kind of question and answer, and anything about CCAMP, anything about the upcoming midterms, get out the vote, life, the universe, anything before we let you go? I see a hand. Anne.
I was sorry to see that Joy Frew had to leave. I don't know if you're aware, but she's stepping down as co-chair. She and I were co-chairs of public policy, and she's going to be a member still, but I'm going to take over as chair. She did an amazing job. As you know, she was on the state committee. It's big shoes to fill, and I know I can't fill them because I've got a lot of hats, but I was sorry that she left and that she didn't get to say anything, but she has been, she brought public policy back to our branch, I think.
Thanks, Anne. And I will, hopefully Joy watches this, or you could clip this part and just say Joy is amazing. And and Anne, as someone who stepped into this role after the fantastic Kathy Harper, I will say I understand. It took two of us to fill her shoes. So feel free to send us emails even just to commiserate about how do we do this when someone fantastic is cycling off. But yes, let's all just say Joy is awesome, and Anne, we look forward to working with you too.
Thank you.
Anyone else cycling in or out that wants to say anything?
I would like to say that I want to thank both you and Amy, and certainly Kathy. You know, we're going to be working very hard to expand our footprint in California through AAUW California, and the advocacy that you guys do is one of the crown jewels of what we are going to be promoting. So thanks to all of you. Keep doing it, and stay tuned on what's going to happen come after July 1.
Thanks, Sharon. We appreciate you and we appreciate the support. We are excited to continue doing this work. And having said that, our first fall meeting will be Friday, September 11th at 1:30. It's on the last slide. I'll share that quickly just so you can see it as a visual.
Auspicious date.
It was either that or the day before before Labor Day, and nobody wants to be hanging out on a Friday afternoon before Labor Day. So this is, I have tentatively, I'll remove that. That is the date. I checked with Amy, we're both available. So this will be our kickoff for 26-27. Your fall public policy news will come out September 1st. And look for emails from us in July about some of the federal actions, in June about anything that we need movement on at the state level. And in August, I anticipate that we'll start rolling out some of our Get Out the Vote material before September, but everything will officially launch in public policy news September 1 with our kickoff September 11th. So enjoy your summer as much as you possibly can. Enjoy all those vacations. And thank you so much for all the work that you do, have done, and continue to do to advance our public policy priorities. I appreciate all of you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Missy.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay.